Welcome everybody to the Bowl Gold Coaches Show. This is Russ Morris along with Bowl Gold Athletic Director John Wright. Coach, congratulations on back-to-back district champs. How's it feel?
Feels good. It'd feel better if we were the 1 seed, but it is what it is. We'll take it.
Yeah, so let's just recap how the Abernathy game last week went down. You shut them out 38-0. I remember you telling me in the paper it was one of the more complete performances team-wise we've had all year long. What stood out to you the most throughout the entirety of the game?
Two main things. Our defense pitched a shutout and played awesome all night long. Didn't give up any, big plays or no letdowns, and that was probably the number one contributing factor. And then the number two contributing factor was just controlling the line of scrimmage on offense and running the ball with Randon. Brandon had a great night with great vision. Offensive line had a great night up front, just driving guys down the field and giving him places to cut. So those were the two main things.
Okay, so you end the regular season. Obviously, you're the 3 seed taking on Panhandle. Now, your path is arguably probably the toughest path, I guess, of all 4 regions, with all things considered, just with the possibility of what the first 3 rounds look like. You got Panhandle this week, possibly Cisco the next, and then you've got another state-ranked team in Ozona waiting for you in week 3, possibly, if that even comes our way. So how would you describe our playoff path this year?
Definitely tough. The old standby is, if you're going to be the best, you got to beat the best. And I feel like if we're going to get to the point in the season where we want to be, we've got to be able to beat the best teams. But at the same time, had we been the 1 seed, we wouldn't have had to play back-to-back top 10 football teams, So if you're looking at, Panhandle, Cisco, and you mentioned Ozona, I think you're looking at Ozona or New Deal in the 3rd round, and that is tough, no doubt. But I think we've got, the kids are in the right place. We've peaked at the right time. It's time to start going and playing Bowl Gold football in the playoffs. And the main thing will be going down the stretch, staying healthy, and of course winning each week.
And this is a game that I think many people had circled at least in the playoffs at some point. Panhandle was unanimously picked to make it to the 3rd round, and I know Post was picked to possibly play him somewhere in that matchup. So this is a highly contested matchup that you're getting in. It's a regional semifinal matchup that you're getting in the bi-district round. So it's going to be, I expect, a really good game. So going on to the Panthers, how would you describe what they do offensively and defensively?
Offensively, they're really multiple, but they've got a good run game. Their quarterback is their main runner. They run kind of a veer look out of the spread offense and kind of like a triple option type deal. Really big up front. They got a 6'8", 290 guy and a 6'4", 310 guy on the offensive line. They look like giants inside. Quarterback 6'1", 205, and really good runner. He's committed to Army. They've got some really good numbers up front, and defensively, probably very comparable to New Home. They got a big defensive front, and then they've got some really skilled players behind them. So they're going to be tough. I've been calling them the redwood all week. We're going to have to chop a redwood down. In order to get a redwood down, you got to chop a lot. So we're going to be chopping hard Friday night in order to get this one pulled off.
So with that in mind, it reminds me a lot of the Sunray game a little bit last year. And I know the quarterbacks are a little bit different. You have one that's trying to emulate what Bryson Daly did at this region with Broxton Robinson at Panhandle. And you had Lujan that could tear it up through the air. But there was a lot of questions whether or not Post could hang with their skill players and with Sunray, and then we ran the ball on them last year. Do you possibly foresee a similar thing to that this week, or is it totally different because of how big they are up front?
Well, I mean, you always treat each team differently, but it is a very similar situation to Sunray, except Panhandle throws the ball about as much as Sunray threw it. So, I mean, runs the ball about as much as Sunray threw it. So, kind of the same dynamic, but different approaches offensively for them. Our team speed on defense is going to have to be a factor for us. But I've wanted this game all year. I mean, I've heard about Panhandle and how great they're going to be this year, and I've kind of wanted this game. If I could have handpicked it, I wouldn't have handpicked it in the first game of the year, or the playoffs. But so be it. We'll take what we get and take them as they come, and hopefully we can be fortunate enough to come out on top in this game tonight.
How deep would you say that our district is? I know Abernathy's got the short end of the draw. They get West Texas in the first round tonight. But there is a big possibility that two teams from our district could meet up later on in the playoffs, whether it be us and New Home again, because New Home's in the top half of the bracket with Hawley and West Texas, and then down in our end it's New Deal and they take on Spearman. So how would you say the quality of our district is going into the playoffs tonight?
Honestly, I think our district is high quality. We got great coaching staffs and great players and great tradition in our district, and great teams this year. Not just one main team. I mean, we've got New Home who's rolling hot. New Deal has caught their stride. I think Abernathy will give WT High a run for their money, and just strictly based on what I've seen, and not only that, but tradition in Abernathy, and so I think our district is stout. I don't base anything on rankings. I think we found out early in the year that the rankings are more like poison. When we got up to number 2 and had issues, and then ended up getting beat by Farwell, and everybody just completely wrote Post off, and that's good. I'm glad, because I really feel like those rankings and that recognition can be poison for teenage boys. We're going to play it one play at a time and one day at a time, and do the best we can to move forward.
All right, just a couple more questions for you. So, touching on Panhandle and how much they're throwing the ball, or how much Broxton will throw the ball, and what their skill players look like. We kind of got a touch of that seeing them at the regional track meet back in the spring, and they were hanging in with Hawley, who pretty much swept all of the relays at the state track meet. How important is it having a guy like Max Cole in the backfield to shut everything down, on top of Raiden Osborne and Aiden Rodriguez in the secondary?
Well, Max is a missing link in our secondary. We found that out when he was gone. He is every bit as much as good of a run support guy as he is pass, but at the same time, he's also the senior leader in the secondary, and he is our secondary quarterback, and it's important. Though they do have speed. We look at all that stuff from last year's regional track meet when we start scouting and figuring people in and look at matchups and things like that. So yes, he's important. Even our smaller corners who have done an outstanding job this year of holding people accountable at the corner position. I'm excited about those guys. I know one thing, 100% sure, they're going to give us everything they have every week.
All right, and then lastly, I don't know how much you've kind of paid attention to this, but things are starting to come full circle for this program. In 2020, Post played Panhandle en route to state champion, en route to an appearance in the state championship game. That was in the third round. A week later, they played Cisco in the regional final. Your first two matchups, possibly, are the Panthers and the Lobos. Have you noticed that at all with the way the brackets fell? Was that something that caught your attention, or is that just something you said, oh, that's pretty cool, and just kind of moved on from it?
Actually, I was talking to Coach Danette from Cisco yesterday morning, and that came up. I was actually at that game when Post and Cisco played. I was coaching in Decatur at the time, but I was down here deer hunting and just wanted to go to the game, and I went and watched that game when Post played Cisco. I wasn't aware that they played Panhandle that year, but consistent programs, they kind of go through these cycles, and Post and Cisco and Panhandle have been very consistent programs. And, I can't speak for them, but on behalf of our program, I've always said that the telltale for me and what kind of job I've done as an athletic director and a head football coach should be judged on my fourth year, because that is you've cultured these kids for 4 years and you've built them into what they are, and you've taught them offense and defense all this time, and so I'm happy where we have come in a full circle, respect. But we still got work to do, and we got a lot of stuff to accomplish, and we want to have our best year in my fourth year. That's the way I look at it.
All righty. Well, just to remind everybody, it's the Panhandle Panthers and the Post Antelopes tonight. Bi-district round. This is the third overall meeting. All the meetings between the two teams have came in the playoffs. First one was in the bi-district round of 2018. The last one was the regional semifinals of the COVID playoffs. So, Coach, thank you for your time, and hopefully when we meet next week, we're talking about a trip to the area round. What do you say?
I hope so.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you.